Hey guys, Augiesaint here and welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I want to talk to you about the upcoming survival MMO Dune Awakening. We have been playing it for the last 2 weeks as part of early access thanks to Funcom, so massive shout out to them. We all got access to a creator press beta, and it gives us about the first 20 to 25 hours of gameplay representing the early to mid game. We got to play in 3 out of the 12 zones in the first survival map, Hagar Basin South, Eastern and Western Vermilius Gap. And then we also got to play through most of the first act of the game story, of which there will be 2 at launch. We got to craft and ride the first of many vehicles, the Sandbike, and then we also did have access to the early and the mid-game combat. It's about 25-30 hours worth of gameplay is what we got out of the beta, and so far what I saw from it, there was a lot of good. There was also a couple of bad things, which I will totally get to throughout the review. So if you guys are interested in this MMO, I can say for me personally, I'm really interested in it after playing this little beta. It has got me even more excited because I have been looking forward to like a survival game to scratch that itch for me that was put there by Power World, and then Power World just disappeared off the map and we didn't really get many updates. So I've been looking for a really fun survival game to get into, and this one for me is doing it so far. So I'm really excited and I can't wait for the launch in June. Also, just a quick little side note, there is going to be an open beta on the 9th of May. I think it's over a weekend. So sign up for that. I believe just go to the Steam page and you sign up to the open beta over there. You should all be able to get in and play exactly the same beta we all did have access to, and then the game will launch further in the year. And we're probably going to hop back into it again on that open beta weekend, as then we can actually play with our community, people from Discord, YouTube, and Twitch as well. We'll be live streaming it. So come join the streams over at Twitch and YouTube. We are dual streaming, and then join in the fun. See if we can build up a massive base over the weekend and just see how the multiplayer really interacts, because I didn't really do any multiplayer stuff while I was playing by myself in the beta test. But without further ado, let's just hop straight into the video. So we start out with the character creator, and for me it's pretty basic character creator. I honestly don't really like spending much time in the character creator. So all I did with the character creator is I just slowly went through all the gauges and I pulled everything over to the right, and then I named my character the last because he was the last part of every single bar on the slider. And we ended up with this abomination, as you can see in the background. But you can definitely go ahead and customize your character to your liking. It's not a very crazy detailed character creator, but I think there's enough there for the people that like to actually customize their character and make them look very similar to themselves. As you can see, I don't really care about that. I just want to hop straight into the game and start playing. And then another thing you do have to choose early on is your starting class and like your background. And that doesn't seem to really affect too much. Well, your background, so to say, that kind of just affects like dialogue options. And then your starting class doesn't have too much of an impact. The main thing that's going to happen, depending on which starting class you choose, is which bunch of skills you can get access to right away. Because each class does have 3 like different skill trees within the class themselves. Then they have different abilities, techniques, and passives. But later on in the game, it was stated that you can actually get and unlock all of the trees. So it's just up to whichever tree you want to start out first. And I will have more videos breaking down all the different starting classes, as well as like what's the best perks and things to choose once we get closer to the launch of the game. So if you are interested in a bunch of all those types of guides and stuff, you should totally subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date on everything Dune Awakening heading forward. But for now and the upcoming beta, it doesn't really matter too much on which starting class you pick. Although I would suggest to go ahead and pick the melee class, because a lot of the fighting in the game, you're going to actually end up getting shielded enemies, and then you can only break the shield with a slow attack from your melee. You can break with some other guns, but it just takes way too many shots early on. So for early gameplay and a little bit of gameplay that we had, I tried 2 different starting classes, one with the turret and then one with the melee character. And for me, the melee one was a little bit stronger early on, just because, you know, that's the only thing we get access to. But like I said, doesn't matter, later on you can access all the things. So with that, let's talk about the gameplay loop. Obviously, we spoke a little bit now about the gameplay with the combat. There's going to be 3 different types of combats you can do, or you can engage in combat. It's going to be melee combat with your weapons, so range combat, and then also skills. You can use different skills. There's a little skill that charges you like around the field. This is actually a really powerful skill. That's what I ended up choosing with the melee class. You can literally just dash to any enemy, and the much lower level, like the early enemies, I can straight up dash to them and then it one shot kills them. And it's also like a really good traversal skill. So while I was covering and running over the sand, I would just go ahead and spam this ability because it's on a very short cooldown, so I could just get around a lot faster before I had any access to vehicles. So the combat for me was one of the weaker points of the game. It doesn't really feel all that fleshed out, although there will definitely be ways to like make it feel better later on as you get more perks and stuff and you get more specific weapons. I did end up getting a purple like little Uzi submachine gun, and that was actually breaking shields faster than what I was with my melee weapons, which I actually found by clearing out abandoned camp or like a little stronghold, because there's these little abandoned camps and then there's also these sealed caves, and then there's like these bigger strongholds of bandits, and you can pretty much just go through there, wipe everybody out, collect all the loot, and you do get quite a bit of resources as well. So that all ties into the gameplay loop. That is mainly the combat. And then you've got to collect all the materials and stuff. And then obviously all those materials you got to take back to your base or wherever you decide to set up a base. And then that goes into the crafting. So now let's actually touch on the crafting and the survival aspects of the game. For me, those were the strong points, and I did enjoy that much more than what I actually enjoyed the combat. Not saying the combat is bad, just saying that crafting and survival was the strong point for me. Now, the crafting is very basic early on. You collect some plant fibers, you collect some rocks and stuff, and you can just go ahead and craft yourself a little base. You do need to craft yourself a base. You also need to craft yourself a generator then, which is going to generate a shield. And you do need also fuel that generator with fuel cells, which you find from all these bandit camps and things we were talking about before. Also, by just going out and salvaging, you can salvage materials, any broken down like machinery or ships or buggies or anything you can find out in the world. You can kind of like scan it. You can go ahead and break it down. This counts the same for like gathering rocks and materials. You use your little scanner, you scan it, and then you mine it, and that's how you get the resources. Bring those back to your base, build your base out. You got to put the little shield thingy to protect you from the sandstorms. There's a bunch of sandstorms that do come through the zone every now and then, and they'll do damage to you and they'll end up killing you if you're not sheltered or in your base. And to be sheltered in your base, you have to have that power generator active. Because if you don't have the generator active, you don't have a shield up, and then your base is also going to get destroyed. So make sure you do have that generator powered up at all times. But then as you get deeper into crafting, you open up like quite a few more devices. There's fabricators to fabricate all kinds of stuff, like a weapon fabricator, vehicle fabricator, and you can also make yourself different armor sets. And then there's also the survival stuff, which is going to be mainly the water things. It's purifiers, actually called a blood purifier, because early on when you first start out, you can only really get water from like the little saplings, the plants around the area. So that's what you do to just stay hydrated, but that can only get your hydration to like a certain point. You need to obviously try and cap out your hydration. If you lose all your hydration, you'll start losing your HP until you ultimately just die. So you collect water from the dew, from the plants, and then you upgrade to blood. And then what you do with that blood is you extract it from the human enemies, obviously, and you bring it back to your base and you chuck it in a blood purifier. So that ties into the survival and the crafting all in one. That's going to be the main source of your survival to stay alive. So that little survival mechanic to me was pretty interesting, as I don't recall ever doing that in any other game. Sure, you have to manage your hydration and stuff, but not to the depth that we have to really go through yet and collect, like carry little blood sacks with us, carry like this little blood extractor tool with us. Every time you kill a bandit, you go ahead and you extract his blood for your little blood pack, and then you fill up your blood purifier, and it's going to slowly purify the blood over into water. And it does actually take quite a while. So I ended up crafting me 3 of these blood purifiers in my very first base, and then I just brought like 5 or 6 blood packs with me every time I head out into the desert, and then keep my purifiers active all the time, purifying that blood over to water. Because what actually bottlenecked my crafting further on was, you guessed it, actually water, because you ended up needing water for some of the other ores and stuff. So you go ahead and craft like the tin ores or copper ores. I can't remember the exact name of them, the steel ores, I believe. So you need the ore itself, and then actually need water as well to function or to like power the machine to go ahead and then craft you the ingots from all of this. So that's why water is a very, very important resource. And later on, I think you can actually take people's bodies and you get like an extractor where you can extract all of the liquid from the body. So you're literally going to be lobbing around bodies, basically just vampires out in the desert, collecting blood and then collecting bodies so we can suck out all the moisture from them and fuel our bases. So if you want to be a desert vampire, then this is the game for you. But that was the really interesting part for me, was just the main real big focus on this hydration, and water is really, really important for you in the game. Now let's actually talk about the sandworms, which again ties into survival. There's these massive sandworms, obviously you guys know from the Dune movies and the books if you've read them. The sandworms is what's in Arrakis, and they pose a massive threat because it's a giant ass freaking sandworm. If it eats you, it takes everything. You lose everything on your character. If you're on a sand bike, you lose your sand bike. If there was stuff in its inventory, everything is gone. So that is why the sandworms are very dangerous, and usually they're quite easy to avoid, because once you're on the sand and you're making a noise, you'll start attracting them, and then they'll do like a breach. They'll just jump straight up out of the sand. Usually not right on you because they don't know exactly where you are. Maybe if you're making like a lot of noise, they'll just breach on you from the beginning. But usually when you're on the sand, you're running or you're going on your vehicle, so you're going pretty fast. And then the sandworm's going to breach, and then after a few seconds, he's going to make a beeline straight for you. So if you're stopped in the middle of the sand, he's going to come and get you. So as soon as you see that breach, you pretty much just want to make for safety, go left, right, doesn't matter. Just get off the sand, get onto a hard surface like little rocks or something, just anywhere out of the main sand. So that adds this like tension when you are crossing the sand, and there's a lot of sand to cross, and there's going to be a lot of times where you have to go over the sand. Even sometimes where we had to stop in the middle of the sand to go ahead and collect this other kind of material, which we needed some spice and flour to go ahead and then take that back to base, because that was actually like the next step up in our crafting. So we had to make a bunch of noise with the speeder, go across the sand, stop in the middle of the sand, gather a bunch of flour. As soon as we see that worm emerge, keep gathering a little bit, and then hop back on your bike and get the hell out of there, because that worm is just going to take everything with you. This is also different to when bandits actually kill you. If you die at a bandit camp or something like that, then you can actually go back to where you died, like your corpse, and you can collect all of your gear. So that's why the worms really give you that tension of don't let that worm get you, because you're going to lose everything on your character. If you had like a better weapon or something, like a purple grade weapon or armor or stuff, that's gone now. The worm's going to chomp it down and you'll never see it again. So watch out for the worms. It's not going to be fun. So that's mainly all the good parts about the game for me, and what the gameplay loop and everything about the game is on. The survival, the combat, the different class systems, and then the crafting as well for your base is really, really nice. I like how easy it is to build everything. Well, the vehicles and all that also ties in crafting. So for me, those are the strong points. Like I said, the combat before was like really mid. It's not bad combat, but it's not good combat. I did feel a little bit glitchy and buggy at times, given this is a early access beta. So I'm sure once we get closer to the game, it's going to be ironed out a little bit better. And then the bad parts for me was just the little bit of bugginess from the combat and stuff, the visual bugs, and then the performance overall wasn't actually that bad. The worst thing for me is that the game would start with AMD's FSR frame generation enabled, and that would just cause massive flickering on my screen. I'm not sure if that's maybe something to do with my screen being like G-Sync, but once I turned off the AMD's frame generation and I tweaked it a little bit with the graphics settings, everything was running pretty smooth for me, between like 80 to 90 FPS on like high settings. I have a 3080 graphics card, nothing too major, but it was running pretty good for me and I can't complain too much there. But I'm sure once we get the full game launch, all these little bugs and little graphical bugs and everything will be worked out, hopefully. If not right away, surely with some updates later down the line. So mostly overall for me, very positive game, very positive review. I am looking forward to it. I can't wait to dive into Arrakis. When it does come out, we can actually make a guild in there. So if you are interested in playing the game, come join the Discord, the community down below. We'll have all the links down below. Come check out the streams as well. And in that open beta on the 9th of May, make sure you guys sign up for that. I think you have to sign up through the Steam page. Otherwise, maybe you can just download it and play it on the weekend. I'm not sure. Just go check it out. I'm going to go look at it myself after this so we can get ready for it and prepare for that open beta weekend. And you can also pre-order the game right now if you feel like I've convinced you. I think I'm going to pre-order it myself. If you do buy I think one of the versions, or maybe if you just pre-order it straight away, you get 5 days of early access, or not really early access, but it's like a head start. They had some weird wording about it, how they mentioned it, that it's not early access, but it's a head start. So something like that. I think it'll be worth it. And if you're really serious about it, yeah, you probably want to get those 5 days, because within 5 days, you can actually get quite ahead and figure out all the best like farming spots and all that kind of stuff. And I'll make a bunch of videos as well covering all of that. So if you guys don't start early, as soon as you get into the game, I will have a ton of guides ready for you guys. But that's going to be me in the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Helped you decide if you like the game, or if you want to at least check the game out. And just go ahead and try it on that open beta weekend, because the most you can lose is just a little bit of time. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Augiesaint out.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the